This is Kingdom View of Relationship and Marriage series. And the first point here is, if a man gives 100,000 naira to his parents, maybe every month, as a single. Now, if such a man now gets married and maybe because of the marriage, the money reduces to 50,000 naira per month, it is wrong to start seeing the wife of that man as a witch. And if it is a woman that does that to her parent, and suddenly the 100,000 naira reduces to 50,000 after marriage, it is wrong to start seeing the husband as an irresponsible person. That's only a sign to show that, they are now having more responsibilities than before. The responsibility of a married person is much more higher than that of a single. So if the money or whatever they give you reduces after marriage, don't begin to suspect the husband or the wife. That can be a sign that their responsibility have increased. Imagine a person that gets married and the salary did not increase, and you still expect such a person to still continue to give you the same amount he or she has been giving you before marriage. That may not be too, realistic. So you must be able to understand each other. After marriage, responsibility sets in. Are you there? So there will be a need to save together, to do some things, save together for the future, prepare for, children as the case may be, and things like that. So the essence for this is so that we can relate with our beloved ones who are married with understanding. Don't talk them down because they are not meeting up to your expectation as they were formerly doing before marriage. That's not a sign that they have married wrongly. Anyway, it can be a sign that now they have more responsibilities. Marriage is not for those who are not responsible, because in marriage there are loads of responsibilities. Marriage is for responsible individuals because it takes a responsible man or woman to shoulder responsibility. If you don't know God as a single, you may not know him when you are married. If you don't know God as a single, you may not know him when you are married, because in marriage you will have more responsibilities that will require all your attention. In the quest of meeting these responsibilities, you may never acknowledge God. So the best place to find God is to find God before marriage. If you don't know God before marriage and you enter into marriage, your chances of knowing him will become very slim, except if grace finds you. I saw him or her in the dream is not enough evidence for marriage. I saw her in the dream, I saw him in the dream. That's not enough. If what you saw in the dream is not confirmed physically by God, then you cannot go by it. Marriage is built on confirmations, not assumptions. So your dreams are also good, but don't stop at dreams only. I saw her in the dreams. There are many of us that will have a lot of dreams, and we saw a lot of sisters. There are many ladies, they have a lot of dreams, they saw a lot of brothers. Does that mean you marry all the brothers? Or you as a brother, you had dreams, several dreams, and you saw a lot of sisters? Does that mean you marry all the sisters? Of course no. So dreams are good, but when it comes to choosing a life partner, dreams is not enough. There must be a confirmation from God. Otherwise, if you move by dreams, you may just be moving by your assumptions. Any lady who says yes to you in a marital relationship without acknowledging God will definitely leave you in marriage without God's permission. That's very true. You need to understand that. If you start misbehaving, all because God led your pastor to you for marriage, then you are being childish. Will you marry me is not the same as will you insult me. He is only asking for your hand in marriage, not your insult. You should still give him the honor he deserves without losing your dignity. That we must understand. If you marry anyone who is not serving the same God as you, then religious crisis may not stop reoccurring. So that's why it is advisable to marry, from same belief. If you're a Christian, marry a Christian. Because by the time you begin to cross the religion boundaries, after marriage, you may be having religious, crisis. So to avoid that, I think it's better to marry from same belief. Beating your wife is beating yourself. It takes only a sick man to beat his wife. Stop saying she caused it. Some people are fond of giving excuses. So you hear things like she caused it. No. Stop saying she caused it. You have no reason for being stupid. When a man beats his wife, don't treat only the wife, but instead treat the husband. Because wife beating is a symptom of a deadly disease. So a man that is beating his wife is also sick. He's even more sick than the wife that has been beaten. So one of the signs to show that a man is sick is his ability to beat his wife. So if you can raise your hand on your wife, you are terribly sick. When we talk about sickness is not necessarily an inability to do something. No, in sickness you have ability, but that ability is probably the wrong one. It's usually the wrong one. It's tending towards a wrong thing. So a man that can beat his wife is seriously sick and needs an urgent attention. Sex in marriage is a display of love, while sex out of marriage is a display of lust. Don't go to an harlot in the name of marriage, but instead go to her in the name of Jesus. What a prostitute needs is not marriage, it is simply the man called Jesus. As a brother or sister, if presently you are not doing anything, then you are not ready for marriage. Before marriage, both of you must be found doing something reasonable. In marriage, laziness is not permitted. Paul said, He that do not work, should not eat. So any hand that cannot work should not eat. But I am saying that he that cannot work should not marry. Why? This is to avoid frustrations and provocations. So if you are not doing anything, then you are not ready for marriage. Any hand that cannot work cannot eat. Any hand that cannot work should not eat. Any hand that cannot work should not marry, to avoid frustrations and provocations. You cannot get the attention of a godly person by dressing in an ungodly way. Dressing in an ungodly way will only get you attracted to ungodly people. You have to understand that. The reason most people always want to marry people who are rich or people from rich home is because most of them don't know what the future holds for them. They think they won't have to spend much. They think even if they don't work, they will still get money. Only a lazy person will think that way. Most people no longer need God to give a reply once they know you are rich. Even if you are not a Christian, they won't bother. Once you are rich, they just go for you. They will say yes. We need to understand that marriage does not work that way. There are more factors to consider other than looking at the pocket. You don't look at the pocket. you look at the vision. The vision is more weightier than the pocket. So if you choose because you have looked at the pocket, you may end up by the wayside because you find yourself in a marriage that will not last. So beyond what they have in the pocket, you must also consider their visibility in your vision. That's very important. Don't bewitch sisters to marry them. Don't bewitch sisters because you want them to marry you. They have their own will and choice. When a president approaches a lady in his assembly, he may end his statement by saying, "Don't you know it's a privilege having people like us as husbands?" Now, this statement is wrong. It shows nothing but bewitchment. Don't bring your titles into relationship. Take your eyes off them and humble yourself. Many people they come to sister and try to brainwash them, especially when some presidents of fellowship who have little or no understanding want to dabble into relationship. They come to you with the mentality of the presido. They come to you with the presido mentality. So they tell you things like, well, I have a lot of sisters, but just by grace, God have chosen you. You are making the sister feel like you are doing her a favor by coming to her, and that approach is wrong. Any brother that comes to you as a sister and he begins to make you feel like he's doing you a favor by coming to you, such a brother is not worth it. No matter how religious, how famous the person may be, don't give a yes. At most, give the person a wait, not a yes, until he humbles himself. Every true wife or husband must meet up with a certain requirement based on what the Lord have told you or shown you. If God says your partner is B in Nigeria, it will be wrong to marry the B from another country because it is not the same. If he or she doesn't reflect what God told you or shows you about your partner, then they are not your partner. That's why we have to come into God. We have to build a personal relationship with God. So anybody coming to you must look like what God have told you and also who God have shown you. So if once they come to you for marriage and relationship, just compare their vision to everything the Lord have told you. Once you find alignment, of course you can go ahead. If during the journey of marriage, the husband or the wife dies, then both of them are free to marry another person. They are free to marry another person of their choice if they want to. It is not compulsory, but if they know they can't continue alone after the loss, then they can marry to avoid sexual, harassment. The only thing that can break marriage bond is death. If not death, then nothing else can. Whatever thing your marriage lacks should be what you will pray for and not what you will fight about. Are you there? Anything your marriage lacks, anything your relationship lacks, is what you should pray for and not what you should fight on. Both of you have the responsibility of making things happen in marriage. Pray together with faith, and when the result comes, both of you will rejoice together in love. That's simple. Your parents cannot choose for you who to marry, but their advice can guide you in decision making. If you take it serious, anyway, that's if you take it serious. So they cannot choose for you who to marry, but if you take their advice serious, that advice can guide you on the path of who to marry. Abraham guided Isaac by letting him know he should not marry from Canaan. And Isaac also guided Jacob not to marry from Canaan, just like what his father told him. Any advice that must work with you must also work with God. That's the point. Any advice that must work with you must also work with God.